Hello lovely people, it's Lynn here. Welcome to my channel, So Lindy Lou. I am absolutely delighted today to be talking to you about the Sew Phoenix September Challenge, which is a new challenge that has been created by three fabulous ladies. My friend Sam from Sew Let's Sparkle, Catherine Sew Overton Makery, and Rachel of the French Seams. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the challenge, and then I'm going to talk to you about what I am planning on making for the challenge. So I'm going to look down at my notes because I want to make sure I get all of the details for you, and I will actually put some screenshots up on the screen as well so that you can have a look at the details in full. So how you join the Sew Phoenix Challenge is you can enter at any time. Sorry, that's an aeroplane just going over. We live fairly close to a little airfield. So you can join any time during the month of September 2025, and you can remake an item. The idea behind the Sew Phoenix name is that you're going to remake an item that you made. It doesn't have to be really, right at the beginning of your sewing journey, but perhaps an item that you made earlier on where you now have more skills and you'd like to perhaps remake that item. Or it might just be that you made it, not that long ago, but you still now have got the information to be able to make it better than you did the first time around, which is certainly one of the ones I'm going to make, and I'll tell you about that shortly. It doesn't have to be a garment. It can be any item that you have sewn. So it could be a toy or a bag or a garment, whatever you want to remake. The challenge is open to people worldwide, and you've also got the option, if you're not an Instagram user, where most challenges do tend to just be Instagram only, they've actually made it really inclusive by having an email address as well. So I'll read that out shortly and just make sure you've got the information, and I'll also put it on screen. So you can apply by email if you don't use Instagram, because in order to apply on Instagram you have to have a public account, so not just a private account where only your friends can see what you share. It needs to be a public account so it can be shared. So even if you have Instagram but it's a private account, then you can use the email entry because you need to be able to tag the three lovely ladies into the challenge and put the hashtag for the challenge in there as well if you're using Instagram. So let's just check to make sure. So yeah, you need to tag Sew Phoenix September 25 is the hashtag, and I'll put that on screen as well. And you need to connect with the three sewists. So I'll just make sure you've got their Instagram handles if you're using Instagram. So Sam is Sew Let's Sparkle. We've got Rachel, the French Seams, and Catherine, Sew Overton Makery. So you need to tag those lovely ladies in, and you also need to say whereabouts you're based, because the prizes are country specific. So make sure you include that bit of information in your post as well. And if you're applying by email, then you can use the email address. Let me just see if I can find that. Yes. Oh no, I haven't got that here. I'll make sure I add that onto the screen for you, so you know where to apply. So those are the key things that you need to know about the challenge. There is a vlogger tour, so if you haven't already seen them, this is now, I think we're at the end of week 2, so I should be posting mine on Sunday the 14th of September. I'm recording it on Thursday today, so it'll be posted at the end of week 2, but there's been a whole vlogger tour week 1 and then week 2 just ahead of me. So yesterday it was Karen Marie from Made by Karen Marie, and then moving ahead to the following week, week 3, you've got the lovely Rachel from the French Seams. One of the hosts of the challenge is going to be doing a check-in and talking to you about what she's making for the challenge. So that'll be really exciting. So do have a look at the other vloggers on the vlogger tour. They'll be shared on the Instagram channel of the three lovely ladies, and also I believe Rachel at the French Seams has got a playlist on her YouTube channel as well, so you can just go and watch them all if you wish to. So that's all the information about the challenge. There are some amazing prizes up for grabs, and again I'll put on the screen as I'm talking. I think there are about 3 pages of of organisations that have contributed prizes. So there are some really good ones to win. So do enter, and I'll look forward to hearing what you're going to be remaking. So I've got two things that I want to remake. So I'll start off with this one because this is what I'm wearing. So I'll just stand up so you can see it. So this is the Sew Over It Pussy Bow blouse, and I made this not that long ago. It's made in silk, and I really wanted to have a go at making something in silk because, as we know, it is a tricky fabric. And I made this as per the pattern pretty much. The only adjustment I made is I added a full bust adjustment because looking at the finished garment measurements, it was going to be a little bit tight across the chest, so added a full bust adjustment. And I also made the cuff a little deeper. It was half the size of that on the pattern, and I quite liked having that deeper cuff, so I added that on. The things that I didn't like about the make, and the reason I wanted to have a go at remaking it, is I hand stitch, which it tells you to do in the pattern instructions. I hand stitch the inside of the neck binding, and that then comes down into the tie. So I hand stitched that on, and I also hand stitched the inside of the cuff as well. And it's okay, I'm not the best at hand stitching, and you know, I have to say I'm not over keen on hand stitching, so I wanted to have another go at that, but to machine stitch it, because just recently, if you've seen some of my other videos, then you'll know that I've just done an awful lot of binding for a friend's sort of cover shirt, and there was a lot of binding on that, and it was chiffon, so I had to go very slow and steady on that, so it actually improved my binding skills. So actually it was a good chance to practice those skills again, and use a machine to do the inside of the collar and the inside of the cuffs on this. The other thing that I wanted to improve is, with silk being so slippery, the rouleau loops are a little bit too big, and they pop open very easily. As you can see there, the loop is a little bit large. Now I could have unpicked this one and altered the length of the rouleau loop, or probably just put a little stitch into it to make it a little bit smaller. But as you're probably aware, if you try and unpick silk, it will easily run. It's so easy to just catch a piece of the fabric instead of catching the stitch, especially if you've used a really well-matched cotton, which I did. I did buy this silk. It was a relatively cheap silk, if you like, because as we know, silk is usually quite expensive. I think from memory, this was about £5.99 a metre from Minerva. So I bought a cheaper piece on purpose just to make sure, to test it really, and to do a wearable toile. I really like the colour of it though, so I will still wear the blouse. It's just not my favourite make. So I just thought it'd be an ideal opportunity to remake this, because I'd actually bought an additional piece of fabric at the time, so that when I'd made this and mastered sewing with this tricky fabric, I would remake it in another piece of fabric. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to get changed, and I'm going to show you the new blouse because I've already made it, so bear with. Here we are. So this is my remade blouse. So you might recognise this this fabric. The bow's coming undone, bear with me. I'm just going to pull that tighter. So this fabric is from Fabric Godmother, and it's not a silk this time. It is a viscose satin, and I absolutely love this bow design on it. I think from memory the fabric was called Beau. It's really lovely. It has got little red dots in it as well. I think some of them are hearts, or maybe that's just my imagination because I love hearts. And a couple of things that I did differently on this blouse compared to the first one. This fabric is slightly more sturdy to sew with, so it wasn't as tricky as the silk. In fact, I should say the silk, I didn't find it that tricky to sew with. It was more cutting out. It just moves constantly. Even though I used a rotary blade, it was still quite tricky to get the line straight. I definitely had some lines a bit like that on the edge. So this was a lot more simple to work with. And I prefer the weight of it actually as well. It just feels nicer to wear. The other thing I did, as I mentioned, I stitched in the ditch. So rather than hand stitching, I stitched in the ditch very carefully. So it's got a nice finish on the inside as well. I also used, actually I didn't say, but the first time with it being silk, I did French seams. Whereas on this one, because it's a bit more of a robust fabric, I used my overlocker. So I overlock the seams so it's all lovely and neat on the inside as well. The other thing that I did, I thought the tie was a little bit skinny on the first one. I'll just stand up so you can see this one better. So I actually made a slightly wider tie on this one. So all I did was because they do actually do an expansion pack where it has got a few additions to the original pattern, but I just thought actually as it's a very simple change, I just adapted my original pattern. So I left it the same at the top so that the piece that goes around the neck was still the same thickness, but then you can see I graduated out for it to be wider at the bottom of the tie. So I think that just gives it a nicer look. I'm hoping it's going to stay fastened because it felt like it kept wanting to come undone. And then on this one, I put these gorgeous pink buttons on. These are handmade in Italy, and I got these from Carolyn Rose. And you can see there that the rouleau loops are a lot smaller, so they fit a lot better and they don't keep wanting to come undone. So really pleased with that. And I also stitched in the ditch. I don't know how well you'll see, but I stitched in the ditch around the cuff as well. So again, using those skills to which I've definitely improved from my skills earlier on, I would say, because it's not something I've done a lot of. I know a lot of people do lots of binding if you make lots of bags or quilting, but it's not something I've done a huge amount of in my sewing past. But one thing I am going to do, actually, I popped a label inside this, and I'll just insert a photograph in. Obviously you can't see it because I'm wearing it at the moment, but it's a really nice label from Kylie and the Machine, and it just says cute, because I think this blouse is quite cute with the bows on it. It's also pink, so it goes with the pink of the bows. And I'm going to talk now about the second garment that I'm going to be making. So I don't have the garment to show you because I actually made this when I was around about 15, which is quite a few years ago. I won't tell you how long, but quite a long time. And I will pop some pictures of me wearing the garment. It was just a very simple shell top. And I remember what I did at the time. It was just as I was getting into sewing. I'd probably already made a couple of school skirts because I was that age where I always wanted the latest fashions. I'd always be reading the magazines, one called Looks and Just 17. I don't know if you remember those, anybody that's near my age. And I always wanted to wear the latest fashion. So for school, we couldn't really afford for me to constantly keep having new school skirts when there was nothing wrong with the other one. But it was in the day when fabric, you could pick it up fairly inexpensively, and we had a really good market, fabric market, that we used to go to. So I used to make school skirts. That's probably where I first started after, you know, the original doing some sewing at school. But this item, I think, was one of the first that I'd sort of chosen to make that I would wear outside of school. So I'll pop the picture in so you can see. Don't laugh at my curly perm. We were on holiday in Great Yarmouth on a campsite in this photo, and it was really hot and sunny, so I'm lying there sunbathing. And what I did to make this top, it's funny, isn't it? As I think I heard somebody else say this, as you get more experienced as a sewist, you almost become a bit more reticent to try things out. Whereas when you're new, you've got that that thing of just being a bit gung-ho and giving things a go because you don't really know what do and don't work. And that was definitely how I felt about, you know, looking back about this particular project. So what I did is I took a vest top that I already had in my wardrobe and I copied it and I just remade the garment. But I'll just pop the picture in of the one that I copied. This is clearly me in my Madonna era. And the one that you can see there on screen, and again, I didn't know what I didn't know at this stage. The one you can see that I copied it from was a knit fabric. So it was sort of a stretchy t-shirt material. I probably bought it on the market, I would imagine. I used to go every Saturday with my friend. We'd go and spend our pocket money and come back with something like a vest top or a little skirt, you know, very inexpensively. And so I copied this knit top, stretch top, and I made it in a woven fabric. So no surprise, it didn't fit very well. It was a bit awkward to get on and off because of course there was no stretch in the fabric, and therefore I did wear it, but I do remember it was not the most comfortable thing to get on and off because of the lack of stretch. It was okay once it was on, and I loved it. As you can see, I've always loved bright colours. It's not a more recent thing. I've always enjoyed bright colours. So I'm there in my electric blue shorts and the colourful top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a go at remaking that top, but rather than drafting from another top that I already have, I'm actually going to try and draft it from my bodice block that I made recently on a course with the lovely Sarah from my Handmade Wardrobe, which was a brilliant course. So I've got my my bodice, so I'll pop a picture in of that so you can see what it looks like, and I'm probably going to make one with a v-neck, I think. So but you know, just make a shell top, so it will have bust darts because I need that to get a good fit, and then I will just make a short shell top. This is the fabric that I'm going to be using, so you'll recognise this if you've seen my other videos, because I made a lovely Norma blouse in this recently from Fibre Mood, and this fabric is a linen viscose from Guthri and Ghani. It's called Ariadne. It's a Greek theme, and I absolutely love that blouse that I made, and I've got enough fabric left to make a shell top. And I've also bought, I don't know whether you'll see this well because the lights might shine off it. I've bought this gorgeous binding from the Specky seamstress, and it says on it reimagined, redesigned and remade, and it's got a little flamingo, a star and a bee to depict the three lovely ladies who are running this Sew Phoenix challenge. So as soon as I saw Rachel talk about that, I had to send off for some, so I sent for that plus a few other new bindings. Now with my newfound binding skills, I'm going to be binding everything, so I thought this top would be a perfect thing to bind. So I shall bind the neckline and the armholes on this top, so I'll share it over on Instagram once I've made it. My Instagram handle is the same as my YouTube, which is just So Lindy Lou. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing about my make, and my forthcoming make as well, and I really hope that you're joining with the challenge. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're going to remake, so do let me know in the comments below. And if you have just found me through the Sew Phoenix challenge, then please do consider liking the video if you've liked it, and I'd love it if you would click the button to subscribe to my channel, and then you'll see my other videos and you'll see what I get to make with this lovely fabric. So thank you to Sam, Rachel and Catherine for coming up with this challenge. I think it's a brilliant one. Thank you to all of the lovely prize givers. I think there are some amazing prizes there, so do make sure you enter to be in with a chance of winning, and I will look forward to seeing what you make. So thank you for now, and I will catch up with you on my next video.